Welcome back to the Bullvine Podcast, your source for stories that milk more than just cows. Today's episode is one for the books. Ever met someone who traded a world-class Holstein herd for a life-changing mission in Tanzania? Buckle up, because Mark Yeazel's story isn't just about dairy farming. It's about faith, family, and rewriting what it means to make an impact. From breeding elite red Holsteins to building grass-roofed barns for orphans, Mark's journey will make you rethink how dairy expertise can change lives. We're talking slick genes in the African heat, 800 eggs a day, and a radical decision that left the dairy world speechless. Let's dive into how one man's yes became a lifeline for over 130 children. Stick around. This isn't just a podcast episode. It's a call to action for anyone who believes dairy can do more. Let's get started.
In the world of dairy, we see a lot of folks making moves, maybe tweaking their feeding programs, perhaps investing in some shiny new robots, even taking the plunge into a different breed sometimes.
Sure, those are the kinds of shifts we talk about regularly. Incremental changes, strategic moves.
Exactly. But every once in a blue moon, something comes across your desk that, well, it makes you do a genuine double take. And that's precisely where we're headed on this deep dive.
Couldn't agree more. We've been digging through the details of a truly extraordinary shift from someone who wasn't just involved, but, deeply respected within the U.S. dairy landscape.
Yeah.
It's a story that really gets you thinking about, the potential reach of our expertise and the unexpected ways it can be applied.
Absolutely. We're talking about Mark Yeazel, the man behind J-Bob Holsteins. For 3 decades, he was crafting a Holstein breeding program that was a real standout. It's a serious force.
Really renowned.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the numbers, over 40 homozygous polled animals, more than 120 polled total, and another 120 plus red cattle, you're talking about significant genetic progress.
A major investment in time, effort, genetics.
Right. And then he sells the whole darn thing.
The whole operation. It's not just, thinning the herd or a partial dispersal. It's complete exit.
A complete dispersal.
And that kind of decision, it signals a monumental life change. And the why behind it is what really grabbed my attention, made me want to delve deeper.
Mine too. You'd maybe expect someone to sell up, maybe head for Florida, perhaps dabble in a different kind of agriculture stateside.
Something like that. Retire, maybe.
Nope. Mark decided to sell his entire top-tier operation to start a dairy farm for orphans.
In Tanzania.
Tanzania.
Yeah.
We're talking about impacting the lives of more than 130 kids. It's just a move that stops you in your tracks.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And his reasoning, as he put it, was so straightforward and, powerful.
What was it he said?
He said, "No, what would be crazy is to believe God tells you to go do something and tell God no."
Wow.
Yeah, that's a statement that really sets the stage for understanding his conviction, I think.
Okay, so let's unpack the before picture a little bit.
Okay.
Before Tanzania, Mark wasn't just any dairy farmer. His J-Bob herd boasted a rolling herd average RHA, for those maybe newer.
The key metric, yeah.
Right, key metric of productivity of 27,641 pounds of milk, which is huge.
That's a serious number.
And the components were, nothing to sneeze at either. 4.1% butterfat, hitting 1,128 pounds.
Over 1,100 pounds of fat.
And 3.25% protein at 898 pounds. And get this, a somatic cell count SCC, that indicator of milk quality and udder health.
Crucial.
Of just 140,000.
Wow, that low.
Yeah. Those are the kind of numbers that put you firmly in the elite category, no question.
Absolutely. That level of production combined with such a low SCC, it speaks volumes. It says superior genetics, meticulous management, the whole package.
Right. He wasn't just producing milk. He was breeding for excellence in health and output.
Yeah.
Really focused.
And his influence went beyond his own farm gate, too.
That's right. He was heavily involved with the Red and White Dairy Cattle Association, had a real pulse on the industry.
Very active.
He even played a pivotal role in connecting them with U.S. livestock genetics export. This wasn't someone on the periphery. He was a well-respected and, frankly, influential voice.
Which just makes this transition all the more remarkable, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's not someone, casually involved in dairy deciding to try something new. This is a seasoned professional, deeply entrenched, very successful.
Talk of his game.
Making a complete life pivot. And it's driven by this profound sense of purpose. It's fascinating.
So what was the initial spark? What set this whole incredible journey in motion? You might be surprised. It goes all the way back to Sunday school, 1995.
Sunday school. Oh.
Apparently, there was an exercise where people wrote down things they enjoyed. Mark wrote international travel. Seems pretty common, right?
Sure. A lot of people enjoy that or aspire to it.
But then came the unexpected question. What if God asked you to give it up?
Okay.
Mark's initial thought, he recalled, was a firm, absolutely not. Fair enough.
Understandable reaction, perhaps.
But, as life sometimes has a way of doing, things shifted. Just 4 months later, he felt a strong calling, a real pull to resign from his leadership positions.
4 months. That's a pretty rapid and significant change of heart.
Isn't it?
It really underscores the power of that internal shift. It's one thing to have a fleeting thought, but to act on it so concretely, stepping away from established roles, that speaks volumes about the depth of that conviction.
Incredible.
And it's worth noting his wife Joy's support in this. That kind of partnership, it's often the bedrock, isn't it? Especially for a decision of this magnitude.
Oh, absolutely crucial. He even described how his sort of general desire for international travel was replaced by a specific desire to travel internationally for service.
A complete reorientation.
Total reorientation of priorities. Mm-hmm. Now, the project that has become his focus is called Eternal Families Tanzania.
Okay.
And it's not your typical institutional orphanage, which I think is a really crucial distinction to make here.
Yes, that's important. The model they've embraced is quite innovative and, arguably far more conducive to the well-being of the children.
How so?
Well, instead of a large impersonal setting, they've established actual family units. Each home has dedicated parents providing consistent love, care, a stable environment, like a real family.
Right. It's inspired by a place called Caminul Felix in Romania, which Mark had visited some years ago.
Yeah.
The whole idea is creating that essential family structure.
Which is so vital for kids who've often experienced significant trauma and instability.
Exactly. And the scale of what they've built is, well, truly impressive. They already have 10 houses in their first village.
10 houses, wow.
And they're actually in the process of constructing a second village.
Goodness, that's serious commitment and growth.
It is. And it's not just about providing housing, it's about fostering long-term sustainability for these families. The farm operation plays a huge role.
The farm, right. How big is it?
It's a 120-acre operation.
Okay, decent size.
Yeah, and they're growing crops like corn and watermelon, essential food sources. They're raising tilapia in fish ponds.
Adding protein. Good thinking.
And producing 800 eggs daily.
800 eggs a day. That's a significant step towards self-sufficiency right there.
It really paints a picture of a holistic, well-thought-out approach, doesn't it?
It does. Very integrated.
And the decision to integrate dairy farming into this model is, of course, what resonates most with us in the dairy world.
Naturally.
Mark mentioned that the idea to sell his renowned herd and establish this dairy in Tanzania, it actually came to him quite clearly on a flight home from a trip.
Just like that. On a plane.
Apparently so. Talk about a light bulb moment at 30,000 feet.
That's a pretty pivotal moment, isn't it? To have such a distinct vision and then, crucially, to act on it with such determination.
Yeah, and the fact that his wife, Joy, was immediately supportive.
Right back to that partnership.
It really underscores their shared commitment and understanding. That kind of unwavering partnership must be invaluable when you're embarking on something like this.
Absolutely essential, I'd imagine.
Now, setting up a dairy in Tanzania isn't exactly like setting one up in, say, Wisconsin or California, is it?
No, not at all. Different world, different challenges.
Tabora, where Eternal Families is located, it sits at an elevation of around 4,000 feet. And the temperatures fluctuate between about 58 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit pretty much year-round.
So heat stress is definitely a factor to manage. Not extreme heat always, but consistently warm.
Right. That presents a whole different set of challenges for dairy productions. You can't just transplant established practices.
Definitely not. Mark clearly recognized the need to adapt to the specific local conditions, the barn design, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, incorporating a grass roof for natural cooling. It's a brilliant example of blending maybe traditional methods with modern needs. Low tech, but highly effective for managing heat.
Smart. Very practical. And they're not overlooking the crucial aspects of herd health either, are they?
No, it seems like they're on top of it. Implementing biosecurity measures like wheel dips for vehicles, foot baths for visitors. Yeah. Doing that right from the start is so important.
Especially with diseases like foot and mouth, East Coast fever, those can be devastating in those regions.
Absolutely. It shows a proactive, responsible approach to animal health, learning from others' experiences and putting prevention first. It's clear he's not just relying on his past Holstein experience in a temperate climate. He's actively learning and adapting.
What really struck me, though, was Mark's attitude towards the local Tanzanian community. He emphasized the importance of building genuine relationships, of learning from their knowledge before implementing his own ideas.
That's huge.
Yeah, he even made a point of saying, too many people judge others in countries like Tanzania as stupid. It is far from the truth. They have fewer opportunities.
That's a profoundly insightful and, frankly, respectful perspective.
Isn't it?
It speaks to a level of cultural humility and understanding that is absolutely essential for any successful international endeavor, recognizing and valuing local expertise. It's not just respectful, it's key to long-term sustainability and building trust.
So true. Okay, so when it came to actually selecting the cattle, you might naturally assume that someone with Mark's background in elite Holsteins would, well...
Start with Holsteins. Yeah, that would be the obvious guess.
Right. But he took a very pragmatic approach. He recognized that getting Holsteins there might be difficult, maybe costly initially.
Logistics, acclimatization.
Yeah.
Lots of factors.
So they made the practical decision to start with a foundation herd of 5 Jersey cows.
Which makes a lot of sense, actually. Strategically sound.
Why do you say that?
Well, Jerseys are generally known for their adaptability to warmer climates, their efficiency, milk production relative to body size. Plus, they often fare well on a wider range of feed resources, which might be more readily available locally.
Good points. But the top-notch Holstein genetics haven't been entirely left behind.
Oh, how so?
Mark actually retained 23 embryos from his prized red-polled donors.
Ah, okay. From the J-Bob herd.
Exactly. And these were sired by slick bulls, which, for listeners maybe not familiar, is a genetic trait that helps cattle develop shorter, sleeker hair coats.
Better heat tolerance? Great.
Makes them better able to regulate body temperature in hot environments. So he's now actively seeking a local partner to serve as recipients for these embryos.
Wow. So the vision is...
The vision, he paints it, is a J-Bob prefixed cow grazing in Tanzania that's red, polled, naturally hornless, great welfare trait.
And slick.
And slick. It's a pretty exciting long-term vision for their herd, isn't it?
It really is. It's a long-term vision that cleverly integrates his deep breeding knowledge with the specific environmental challenges of Tanzania, creating a resilient, productive herd suited to local conditions. Very smart.
Now, beyond the obvious economic benefits, milk production helping the sustainability of Eternal Families, there's a really significant nutritional aspect to this whole endeavor.
Which is probably the core mission. Right?
Absolutely. Mark pointed to studies suggesting that incorporating milk into the diet of children under 6, it can potentially lead to an increase in their IQ.
Really? By how much?
By as much as 15 points, according to the studies he cited.
15 points. That's potentially life-altering for their cognitive development.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. For children in vulnerable situations, consistent access to nutrient-rich foods like milk can have a profound effect. It's not just basic sustenance. It's a direct investment in their future potential, their well-being.
And looking ahead, there are some really interesting market opportunities on the horizon, too.
Beyond just fluid milk for the kids.
Yeah. Mark is exploring producing butter, yogurt, and something called Muntendi.
Muntendi? What's that?
It's a traditional, local fermented milk product. Apparently, there's clearly a demand for these dairy items from local consumers, restaurants, hotels in the area.
Makes sense. Value-added products.
And his unwavering commitment to milk integrity. That's crucial, too. His firm stance against adding water, for example.
Oh, absolutely. Building trust, establishing a reputation for high-quality, unadulterated products in the local market. That kind of ethical approach can really differentiate them. Builds long-term loyalty.
He also has a clear vision for how the dairy operation itself will be managed from a business perspective.
Me-name.
He's committed to demonstrating better employee-employer relationships, ensuring fair treatment, showing genuine appreciation for the people working there.
That's fantastic.
It's about creating a positive, supportive work environment, which, as we know, is so important for long-term success anywhere, but perhaps especially in that context.
That holistic approach, considering the animals, the production, and the human element that's essential for building a truly sustainable and thriving enterprise, can't overlook the people.
So true. Now, for our listeners out there who are hearing this incredible story and thinking, wow, this is amazing, how can I possibly contribute?
Yeah, I imagine some folks might be wondering that.
Well, there are actually several ways people can help, even from thousands of miles away. Mark and his team could really benefit from remote consultation.
Okay, in what areas specifically?
Things like tropical dairy management best practices, formulating nutritional plans based on locally available feed ingredients. That's a big one.
Tricky with local feed stuff sometimes.
Right. And even offering insights on breeding strategies, specifically for heat-tolerant cattle.
So if any listeners have expertise in those particular areas, tropical management, nutrition with local feeds, heat-tolerant genetics, this is a really unique, impactful opportunity to lend that knowledge.
Exactly. Make a tangible difference in this remarkable project.
They must have equipment needs too, I'd guess. Starting from scratch almost.
Oh, yeah. Very specific, critical equipment needs. At the top of their list is a reliable milk cooling unit.
Absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Especially in that climate. For quality and market access.
Couldn't agree more. They also have a need for a second tractor. Apparently, the distance between their two current locations is about 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. A second tractor makes sense then.
And a sturdy pickup truck. Needed to handle the often challenging road conditions there.
Those are very tangible needs. Direct contributions there could have a huge immediate impact on their daily operations, their efficiency, and ultimately their ability to provide for the children.
For sure. And for those folks listening with connections in the bovine genetics world.
The embryos.
Right. Mark is actively seeking assistance with the logistics of transporting those valuable embryos to Tanzania.
That can be complex, expensive.
Definitely. He's also very interested in connecting with anyone who has knowledge about yellow or silage corn varieties that would be well suited to thrive in Tanzania's specific climate.
Agronomy expertise too. Makes sense.
So whether your area is logistics, agronomy, nutrition, breeding, management, there are definitely avenues to contribute.
It seems like it covers a lot of bases within our industry.
It really does. And it's also really heartening to hear that the dairy community has already begun to rally around this incredible effort.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, with generous donations of AI kits, embryo transfer supplies, ET supplies,
the tools for the trade.
And even a nutritionist volunteering their valuable services remotely.
That's fantastic. It really highlights the spirit of generosity within our industry, doesn't it?
It really does. It's wonderful to witness that immediate, heartfelt support. Underscores that strong sense of community, the willingness to help, even across vast distances.
It's one of the best things about the dairy sector, I think.
Agreed. And at the very core of this entire endeavor, this massive shift, is Mark's unwavering motivation. He articulated it so powerfully.
That's that quote from earlier.
Not just that one. He also said, I believe as a Christian that love your neighbor is not just a slogan for next door, that love has no boundary.
Wow.
And then he added, I also believe that love is an action word.
Love is an action word. That really encapsulates the driving force behind this whole journey, doesn't it?
Perfectly, I think.
It beautifully and succinctly captures the fundamental principle guiding this radical life transformation. It's a testament to putting faith into action, using his God-given skills, his extensive experience,
decades of
to serve a much wider community in a truly profound way.
Yeah. So for our listeners in the United States who feel moved to contribute financially, there's a practical way to do that too.
Okay.
The organization is Remember the Children, and it's a registered 501c3, so donations are tax deductible in the U.S.
Good to know.
You can send checks to their address, 1100 S 9th Street, Suite 211, Noblesville, Indiana, 46060.
Okay, 1100 South 9th Street, Suite 211, Noblesville, is 46060.
Exactly. And please make sure to clearly write Tanzania Dairy Project in the memo line of the check. That's really important.
Tanzania Dairy Project in the memo. Got it.
Every single contribution, they assure us, will go directly towards supporting the operational needs of the dairy farm and, most importantly, ensuring that fresh, nutritious milk reaches those deserving children.
That's fantastic. A direct, impactful way to support the dairy's needs and, crucially, ensure those kids get the significant nutritional benefits of fresh milk for their development.
So from an elite Holstein breeder, showcasing champion cattle in the top show rings across the U.S.,
living that life,
to embarking on a mission to establish a dairy farm to nourish orphans in Tanzania, Mark Yeazel's story is truly something extraordinary.
It really is inspiring.
He's taking his decades of hard-earned dairy expertise and channeling it into transforming young lives in just a deeply meaningful way.
It really prompts us to consider the broader potential, doesn't it? The potential of the skills and knowledge we possess within the dairy industry.
Yeah. How can the things we've learned, the expertise we've cultivated, how can that have a wider ripple effect beyond our own farms, our own businesses?
Right. It brings that powerful concept, love as an action word, into a whole new and inspiring context. Right. Within the global dairy community.
Exactly. It's not just about the high-quality milk we produce here or the genetics we develop. It's about how our collective knowledge, our resources, how they can reach across borders and make a real lasting difference in people's lives.
It certainly gives you food for thought, doesn't it?
It really does. A lot to think about there.
Thanks for joining us on the Bullvine Podcast. If Mark's story lit a fire in you, head to thebullvine.com for the full article, photos of Tanzania's grass-roofed barns, and ways to support the mission. Got a dairy story we should feature? Email us at editor@thebullvine.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep milking those possibilities.